Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EIC Podcast. After a couple technical difficulties, we are back. So welcome, Dustin and Mike with you today. We want to talk about an interesting nuance of lead generation, which we are getting into recently and finding a lot of value out of, and that is ICP lead scoring. And I know that's probably like blah, 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 blah. But essentially, we want to talk about when leads come in, how they're qualified. So typically a lead comes in, you have a name, an email, and maybe a phone number. You might have the company that they work for. You might have the end of their email address and have it from there, but that's all you have. You don't really know anything outside of that. And you don't know if that person falls within your ICP, your ideal customer profile. And subsequently, once that comes in, if you can find more people like that. So we want to talk about a technique and a strategy and an implementation that we're working with to enrich the lead data as it comes in to both better qualify that lead and then go find more people like that after it's qualified and data enriched. So Dustin, I might have stole some of your thunder there on the intro, but talk to us about this and your take on this, and then what we're doing to implement this to enrich the data and improve the lead generation piece of everything that we do.
Where this comes from is as we run ads, we're always trying to drive higher quality leads out the gate. And so, as you mentioned, most leads that come in are going to be name, email, phone number. There might be a custom question or two, but we don't know a lot about them. And it wastes a lot of time and energy putting sales on these contacts to reach out. So there are ways, one being engagement. Are they engaging with emails? Are they engaging with the brand? But a lot of people don't focus on the data side of things. And so using technology and AI, you can take that email and phone number and plug it into something like Clay. We use high level of CRM. It has web scrapers, so you can search the email and the company. With the massive amounts of data that are out there, you can typically find information on these leads as long as one data point is legit. And as you get that, is it the job title that is the buyer, the decision maker? Is it a company that's even in market for you? Is it a competitor? But as you learn these, you can now score your contacts or leads. And without them even engaging, now you can go from lead to they are a marketing qualified lead. And this data signal comes back to the ad platforms and makes them smarter. So leaning into data and automation to find more context about your leads and the company can give you a huge leg up on making your ads and getting MQL data to the ad platform sooner than your salespeople identifying them.
So I want to contextualize that a little bit because you made some great points there. The first is that we're not lead scoring based on engagement or actions that this person takes once they come into the system. So typical scenario might be a lead comes in, it then gets a text or an email. If they click that and follow up or go to a page, they get lead scored by what they're doing, by their engagement. You're talking about a different paradigm here, which is you don't really have to do that because sometimes those signals can be false. B is that you're actually just taking the data of the lead and whatever that might be, the email, the phone number, even the name, and enriching that to make sure on an automated basis that that lead is qualified and falls within your ICP, right? That is then graded up and it becomes more qualified by that enrichment. And then it gets put into an MQL, gets put into a marketing qualified lead automatically because of the data enrichment.
Yep, you outline that process entirely correct. And once become an MQL, that kicks off a whole separate set of workflows to try and get them to an SQL and into sales hands.
Let's go through the scenario. Lead comes in, they fill out a form. Then what happens? What's the stack? What's the process? You already talked a little bit about that, but I want to review it again because there was a lot that you said, and I think this part is key for folks to know, what do I need to have implemented here? You mentioned Clay, you mentioned go high level, you mentioned those things. Get a little more granular with lead comes in, then what happens?
We can make it relevant to us. We have two different business lines where they're two different sizes of clients. And we do a lot of B2B and a lot more one-to-many or platform. So lead comes in, it might be an email and we don't know who it is, but as it comes into our CRM high level, we integrate it to Clay, which is a data enrichment company. We can take the email and it's connected to hundreds, thousands of different data providers that they can take that email and go find what company this person works for, where they're located, and just get more context about them. And just with that simple email, without them answering any questions, we can then identify, are they more B2B? Are they one-to-many? Are they another marketing agency? And then we can score accordingly based on how they impact our profitability. This is a simple example. As soon as it comes in, we then use data to identify, which line are they going to go down, and then we score them accordingly.
And thus far, as we've been doing this as an example, we've seen a 30 to 50% improvement of moving to SQL, right? So really significantly moving the needle there from actually qualifying these people as a marketing qualified lead and sales doing the same as a sales qualified lead. That's a huge needle mover there. Let's talk about the back end of that in the piece and around the piece of this is a good lead, we like this, how do we feed that signal back to the ad platforms so that we find more people like that?
So our CRM and how we help is we'll score people. So as people meet certain data points that meet our criteria, they'll score higher and higher. And then we set what's called an MQL or a marketing qualified lead scoring threshold. As we get data, people pass this threshold, they're now a marketing qualified lead. We have connections, automation set up that as soon as someone becomes an MQL, they get sent to Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, all of our ad platforms to say, hey, this was a quality lead. They didn't just fill out a form, but we're saying this is quality. As the data platforms get more of that, we build lookalike audiences and modeling around that and optimize towards that conversion point. All the systems will start targeting and getting in front of people like that. So over time, as you get more of these MQLs, the leads or the people filling out the forms are going to look more like that. So you have less spam, less tire kickers, less people that are outside of your target market. So it only makes the ads that much stronger.
I think for some folks, a good proxy and equivalent example might be e-com. When you have people who actually buy and actually make a purchase, that's what teaches these algorithms on Meta, on Google, etc. That's the final conversion metric that they're using to find more users like that. And you need a certain amount of volume of purchases to teach the algorithm to find more folks like that. And when that kicks in, that's when you really have some compound growth potential. What we're talking about is speeding up that process with this implementation so that you get more qualified leads into the system, and then the ad algorithms can learn about that and get that signal much faster. And then here comes your compound growth and your compound lead generation. The e-com example, I think, is a good one in this case. Is that related to value-based proxy bidding? Do you want to talk about that a little bit and give some detail on that? What sounds like a very complex subject matter.
All the ad platforms, their algorithms are really good and they do what you tell them to do. So if you tell people to go after forms and it's a bunch of junk, they'll get you more of that. This MQL, they'll get you more of that. And where this comes into play is, what is that potential revenue or what is your pipeline that it's generating? And this is getting a little further down in sophistication, but going back to us, a client might be worth X amount and the other revenue line, they might be worth a different amount. As we identify that, we can associate a value to that. Typically, it's the lifetime value or what is the 6-month deal value, or put a value on it. And now we pass that to the ad platforms and go, this lead was worth $10,000. Now we have revenue that we can say this conversion came in. We're putting a value of 10,000 on it. Now we can start doing lead generation like e-commerce and go, hey, that was a 10x return on ad spend. We want more of that. And naturally, the ad platforms are going to go out and find more of those larger clients. So it allows you to stop doing lead generation and more going after how you're doing pipeline generation, building your pipeline in a much larger way.
In conclusion, we're trying to say that data enrichment of your lead generation is going to really hyper boost your efforts. And so if that seems interesting, we would love to have a discovery call with you and get into more of that. Dustin, anything, a last word from you before we cut out on this subject?
The last thing I would say is echoing what you said, and this whole thing accelerates doing good lead generation. And as we're talking through it, this might be a must if you're just starting out, because typically you'll generate leads, give them straight to sales, they'll complain and say it's junk. The faster you can tell these ad platforms what's quality, the faster your lead generation program is going to be better. So if you're just starting out, invest some time and energy into figuring this out so that you can accelerate telling the ad platforms what are MQLs, and that path to ROI will be much quicker.
If you want some help in doing this and mapping a path towards this, again, click book a discovery call on our site. That'll give you 30 minutes with me and we can get into this piece of it. I think it's a really strong point that Dustin's making of doing this on the upfront and doing it before everything else so that everything is in hyperspeed once you do roll out. So again, if that sounds interesting to you, click book a discovery call on our site. That'll give you time with me and we'll get into it from there. Thanks for watching this episode of the EIC podcast and we'll catch you next time.